I'm Steve Vibronics, and this is the Life in Dub podcast, talking to people who live their lives in dub and reggae. Episode number 37. Welcome to the 37th episode of the Life in Dub podcast. I hope everyone's doing okay. I hope it's been a nice surprise to have this whole new season. And it's been great to hear from so many of you listeners out there, so keep those messages coming in. And please remember, if you haven't already, there are 36 other episodes to listen back to from so many dub and reggae legends, all available at lifeindub.com, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the usual places. And if you want to get in touch, just email me, vibronics@gmail.com. This week, I want to talk a bit about Dennis Mixman Blackamix, who sadly left us in December. And what's really sad to me is that he was lined up for an interview on this very podcast. You see, I'd known Dennis since the 1990s, firstly as a fan of his music and then as a friend and a comrade in the scene. Back when I was first discovering UK dub music, it wasn't easy to get the vinyl in Leicester where I live. But I did manage to buy a CD copy of his African Gold album released in 1993, and that was on repeat in our house. It sounded really fresh and really digital, and it was a big influence on me. And it was an important part of a whole new world of UK dub that I was set to join. Dennis was also long-time promoter of dances right up until he passed. I've got great memories of Josh Shaka and so many sound systems at the Cabana Club in Bedford in the early 2000s. I don't know if anyone remembers those sessions. Amazing stuff. He was also a great entrepreneur, setting up one of the first ever online vinyl stores back when most people were still new to buying anything online. So I just want to pay my respects to Dennis Blackamix and to acknowledge what a great loss to the scene his passing is, and to send my best wishes to his family. This week, my guest is Fikir Amak, the California-based vocalist, songwriter, sound system owner and fitness fanatic. I had the great pleasure of playing on his highly charged sound system a couple of years back at the South Bay Dub Club in Los Angeles, so it was great to reconnect with him and learn more about his USA perspective on the ever-growing dub sound system scene, as well as some great tales about his own journey in reggae music. So enough of me, let's get on with the interview. Well, Fikir Amak, welcome to the Life in Dub podcast.
It's an honor to be sharing some time with you, Steve. It's been a while.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear your voice again. Obviously, we were together like last year in LA, so it's nice to kind of be linking up again.
Definitely. That was a very nice session. For those who were there will remember Vibronics on Highly Charged. It was a great, great night. People came out, and it was actually a very powerful moment because, you know, I've seen you a while back, but to hear your selection and just kind of remember the kind of great, you know, selection that you have and kind of the energy you bring to the session. It was great.
Yeah, well, thanks. I mean, it was also, I think it was the fourth show in a row, and we'd been on the road and everything, but it was the best one still. It was just kind of, I guess I just kind of like California as well. It's hard not to.
Cali. We always rep Cali hard on this side, and we're proud of California.
I remember the day after the session, we went, sorry for all the people listening in freezing cold Europe, but we went to the beach and onto the pier and onto the Pacific Ocean, and it's like, okay, I can see why people like California.
Yes, the nature, the vibe, we're proud of, you know, again, representing where we come from and kind of sharing that with the world.
Well, listen, what I like to do at the beginning of the podcast is ask each guest just to mention a song that's got some kind of importance to them somehow. So I don't know if you've got something, a particular song you want to mention. Could be any song, any genre, anything you want, but just something that's personally important to you.
Yeah, you know, over the years, it's I always kind of come back to certain songs and kind of to reset, whether I'm in the studio or whatever it may be, just to kind of reset everything. And one that comes to mind is Fela Kuti's Water No Get Enemy. It's one of those tracks that the first time I heard it is just like it's like I had heard it before. It's got this very unconventional, obviously, or arrangement, which Fela was known for, and it's got this certain vibe that you just feel. Right, and he's talking about water and all these things the water can do for you, and beyond the lyrics, it's really the feeling and vibe. I always somehow come to that song again and again, just because of I'm like, yeah, that's how music's supposed to make you feel.
It's got those kind of horns on it, hasn't it? And there's a special harmonies which like only Fela Kuti seems to be able to kind of create. They're just like totally like, I find them mesmerizing, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. It's like each horn player gets a solo. There's electric piano. You can hear the guitar. The drums are just crazy. It's one of those tracks that, you know, they were creating their own genre out of various genres that already existed, but they were doing their own thing. And I've always taken inspiration to those trendsetters, those real trendsetters, or rather people who pave paths in whatever industries. And Fela, for me, is definitely one of those.
Also, it's kind of good for me to hear someone like hail up some music that's not reggae music. I mean, we all love reggae music, of course, but, you know, I listen to a lot of other different kind of music, and I always feel it's good to kind of feed reggae with stuff from outside of reggae. You know what I mean?
Definitely, we love reggae. I grew up listening to reggae and other music, and, you know, nowadays, I don't listen to as much reggae or even dub or even my own music, to be honest. I often prefer silence and to just kind of not have music, right? And when I do listen to music, it's from people like, you know, people I know, like yourself, you know, King Alpha, whoever it may be, who is, you know, sending me music. That's what I end up listening to. So whatever the genre, if it calls me, it calls me. And that's kind of what I listen for, you know?
Nice. Once we're finished with this interview, I'm going to send you my Fela Kuti recut that I did a while ago, which I called Hypnotized by Africa. And I absolutely love the track. And
yes.
You'll recognize it when I send it to you. I was just amazed by like the horn lines. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to try and make a dub out of this track.
See, and that actually reminds me, I'm going to say, when Dub Judah was in LA, he was here not too long ago. He was selecting and showing me certain music from an upcoming project, which has these African singers, African elements, kind of in the Afrobeat, but definitely very much dub. And I just loved it. I was like, I had him play me the entire project because it was definitely unique, something you wouldn't expect to come out of. Well, if you know Dub Judah, you would maybe expect, you know, him to kind of just going into those realms, but it was really powerful, and I really do like when we can not get stuck in the formulas of any genres and
for real. And also like Dub Judah, I mean, I've said it on the podcast many times, it's like one of my big influences as well. Like when dub came out in the 90s, that was like just totally like kind of mind-blowing for me. Those kind of complicated rhythms and just kind of like just sounded so fresh. And, you know, I'm a big fan of Dub Judah.
Totally. I have to agree. He's a big inspiration, and having him around in Los Angeles with some real quality time was, I mean, building in the studio and just seeing how he works was quite an amazing thing to see and to kind of be around.
Oh, nice. We're talking about your own kind of musical path. Then, you know, what I usually do at the beginning is ask people kind of how they started. So I was wondering how you kind of started with music, or, you know, what kind of effect music had on you from a young age. I mean, you know, where did your sort of musical journey begin?
Yeah, so this happened many years ago. I'd always listened to music. Music was around, but no one who I knew made music or sang or played guitar or anything like that, other than my cousin. I have to say, in Puerto Rico, he did play guitar, but kind of just, you know, here and there. And it was finding an old guitar in my garage that was kind of needed work, right? So it was a classical guitar. Finding out it was my mother's, and, you know, she didn't play anymore, but she used to play. And I was like, okay, well, let's see if we can fix this up. So we fixed it up. My father was like, hey, if you're going to play guitar, you should probably try to get a lesson. So I was like, cool. You know, we go to a music store. And he's like, hey, what do you want to play? And I'm like, I have this Jimi Hendrix song. He's like, you brought the CD? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to learn how to play the song. So I'm here, I'm ready. And he's there. He puts a CD player in. He goes, presses play. He hears the first couple, you know, notes. He pauses it. He figures it out, writes it down, plays the next couple. And I'm like, that's how you do it? I mean, there's no quicker way to do it. It's like, no, you have to listen to it, and you have to kind of figure it out. And that was honestly the first and only lesson I ever took in music, where I just realized you have to use your ears.
It
And
sounds like a bit of a vibe killer, having someone kind of stop the music every few seconds and work out every note. It's not really,
yeah, and that's what I was like. Wait, if that's what you're doing, I can do the same thing. Like, it's not like I can just figure it out myself. So I just started to listen to music and kind of the same thing, just listen to it and try to replicate it on guitar. And eventually, I was teaching myself, all types of music from like, rock to reggae to ska, and just really, if I heard it, I was like, I can figure out how to play it. And so that kind of progressed to kind of, learning chords and all that. And at that point, just learning kind of basic things and joining some high school bands and as a guitarist. And it wasn't until later, maybe 16, 17, I joined a band as a guitarist where I started to kind of experiment with singing, although I wasn't the main singer. There was a singer who was much more experienced. And
okay, so you didn't start out singing then?
well, I was comfortable kind of in the background. I love playing guitar, and that's what I wanted to do, It was always kind of brought up to me, hey, why don't you try singing? And I was like, all right, let's try. So I wrote my first songs around 16, 17. There was a music teacher at the school who had a music studio at the time, and he was like, hey, let's record these professionally. So we actually then went into the music teacher's studio and recorded a professional album. And that album started to make kind of the rounds. We started to play a lot of parties, and we kind of started to get somewhat of a name.
And this is all in like California?
In Los Angeles, yeah. The band was called the Ghetto Fabulosos, and I was probably the least talented. No, I was. I'm not going to say probably. I was the least talented. Everyone else had been doing jazz band and music classes, and they knew theory. They could read music, sheet music, and I was like, if you tell me the key, I can play along. So I was.
We all got to start somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. So I was part of this band, and then some of the songs I sang started to become well received, and I started to sing more, although I was very kind of uncomfortable at first. People who know me know that I'm not someone who yearns for the spotlight or yearns for attention, rather. I'm very comfortable in the background. And so it was kind of a different experience for me, being how I naturally am.
It's a very intense thing. It's something I say a lot on the podcast. It's a very intense thing to go through when you're young, to be creating music and playing it, because it's just so exciting and it's so new and you've never done it before. And if you're a music lover and you get to be there playing it to people, it's like, for me, it was like, wow, I can't believe I'm actually in music, because I love music so much and now I'm kind of in it.
Definitely. And it happened very fast, from I like the music to all of a sudden here I am on stage. And as you know, in a band, it's like you're married to like 4 or 5 people, and it's quite the relationship at times. So, but definitely great experience. And that got me starting a band in Santa Cruz for like a year. That was, it didn't really have a name. I think it was called Jam Music or something like that. But it was just not really a serious kind of collective of people. But when Fikir Amak came, it was like a revelation that I wanted to devote myself to roots and culture music, really Rastafari music, and have music with a message to uplift. And at that point, I was listening to a lot of Sizzla, Capleton. I just discovered Midnight. This must have been 2003.
So that's what kind of brought that kind of change and sort of direction in then.
Well, funny enough, it was like in that high school band, we were playing kind of punk music at times and hard rock, and I liked that rebel spirit of music. I mean, I loved UK punk as well.
Man, me too. I was brought up on all that stuff.
Yeah, we were listening to like Sex Pistols and things like Crass, and I liked that really kind of that hardcore rebel spirit. And reggae for me was like when I was going to be calm, and that's what I thought. It was like, for me, it was like a different. It was a different vibe. But when I heard Sizzla and Capleton, and that was that era when it was like punk music for me. I was like, wow, this is punk music, but in just a different way, and it's a more Caribbean, right, African way of burning fire. And I gravitated towards it. So that helped kind of say, look, okay, there's that rebel spirit is very much still alive in the music of reggae and dancehall. And I was like, I like that. So when I heard Midnight Now was very slow, extremely slowed down.
Mhm.
And it was like, okay, this is slow, but somehow within how slow the music was, it was equally, if not more powerful than those fast sizzlers or those power, that kind of, my concept of rebel music was changing, what rebel music was.
And would you say that you kind of made a choice to move more towards making reggae and being involved in reggae?
Definitely. I knew that. I started to realize that in the high school band, my songs were always kind of more reggae, or were reggae. And I realized that around 18, I was like, no, this is really kind of speaks to me and who I am. When I saw Midnight Live, it must have been 2002 or 2003, was really a game changer, because it was, again, that rebelliousness, that Rastafari spirit, but in a way that I had never been presented. I had never experienced it like that. And I realized that this is music with a message, and this is what I want to really do with my time. And
was reggae music around much in California? Because obviously, I grew up in UK, and it's just, especially when I was growing up, it was everywhere, absolutely everywhere. Reggae was huge. And even though it's no longer so sort of commercially kind of popular, it's still around everywhere in UK. But I don't know how it was over there in California.
Reggae was very similar. It was everywhere at the time. There was the reggae festivals here in that era. People who know, who are around will remember. I mean, Sierra Nevada World Music Festival, Reggae on the River, and that time was incredible. I mean, I was growing up here, going to Jamaican markets. You run into Sugar Minot. You run into whoever it may be. Ross Michael was a very open, really powerful member of the community. I mean, he still is, but then his gates were open 24/7. There was Nyabingi, there was gatherings, there was the First Church of Rastafari, there was the Haile Selassie Youth Center, and all of these things incorporated reggae. So it was almost a golden era of reggae, where it was very happening and very powerful, I would say, around that time.
And then you took on the name Fikir Amak in that sort of time. And was that like a choice to move towards a sort of more cultural kind of direction, would you say?
Yeah, it was something that came. It was almost a revelation of sorts, where the name came to me. At 2002, this Ethiopian man I met, Abdul, out in Santa Cruz. He had a shop called the Ethiopian Embassy. And me, 18 years old, being new to the town, I saw the sign. I was like, I gotta go. I met him. He was very inviting, and he's the person who gave me my first book in English and Amharic. And he's like, here, you can, show me a couple things, and like, here, and in looking at it, I came upon the word AMLAK. I came upon the word Fikir, and I was like, it just came to me. It's like, this combination of words is powerful. I feel called to it. And it wasn't really a name for me. It was a name for the band, because there was a band at the time. And when I realized AMLAK, a name for God or the divine, and Fikir, love, I was like, this is what I want to represent. I want to represent God's love, divine love, in everything I do, whether it's music, especially in the music, but in everything I do, I want this to mean something, and I want to share this with the world. So it was a revelation of sorts.
Nice. And because, I guess people who know your songs probably see a lot of kind of maybe Ethiopian kind of connection in your lyrics and whatever. That seems to be something that's kind of present in the work you do, I would say. I don't know if you agree.
Definitely. And going back to LA times, how I really learned about Haile Selassie was walking on the boardwalk. And this is way early days, 13 years old, 14, and I don't even have locks. I'm just hanging out with a friend of mine, and these Rasta people were, hey, come here, and they're like calling me over. I'm like, I go over, and they're like, you look like the king. I'm like, the king? I'm like, who? They're like, no, you look like the king. I'm like, and he's like, hey, go get the thing. And so one Rasta goes to the next bar and he brings over, he had an itrid of His Majesty. And he says, the king, Emperor Haile Selassie, Emperor of Ethiopia, you look like him. I'm like, I have certain features of Ethiopian or North African or whatever it may be. And part of my bloodline is from Puerto Rico. The other part is from Mexico. And I know with the mixing that I'm confident, especially in the Caribbean side, that there was a lot of mixing. And this is something that we know in Puerto Rico, that there's a saying, el que no tiene dinga tiene mandinga, which if you're not from this African tribe, then you're from that African tribe. And everyone's mixed. So part of my journey in Rastafari was actually getting to know myself, the African roots of the African blood within me. So going into that journey about myself was very important, because it took me into the Afro-Caribbean history. And then all of a sudden there I'm reading Walter Rodney, and I'm reading all kind of histories about the African slave trade. And this is before I'm really learning about it in school. So and going into the Ethiopian side, I'm people who know my music. I love history. I love culture, and I love to explore kind of culture and history as it relates to not just the past, but to the present day. So just that saying, hey, you look like the king, took me down this rabbit hole. Like it was like a fork in the road. And here I am decades later, still a student of myself, my own history, my own blood, but also a student of the world and the history of the world.
And I would say, as a fan of your music, which I am, I have to say, that comes across like in your lyrics as well. And again, it's something I ask a lot of people about on the podcast, because I'm really fascinated by people that have the ability to write lyrics, because lyrics are very powerful. You say a lot with few words and whatever, but I would say you have your own sort of distinct sort of lyrical style, which is like, for me, really interesting. So I don't know if you want to talk a bit about that. Like, where did it come from, the idea of writing songs and your sort of inspiration?
I always say I don't take credit for any of the songs I write. It's like I can hear them before even I have the lyrics. I hear the melodies and it's all there. And a lot of artists talk about these things where it's we're just translating them and bringing them here and to share and making them something concrete. But some of my songs are kind of odes or tributes, and other times it's, we go through things as people and as artists. I think some of the most powerful songs I have are those where I'm going through the hardest times, right? And people feel that vulnerability. They can feel the emotion, whether it's, a song like Overcome, which a lot of people feel, and that was released during the pandemic. And in any case, when I write, I try not to dwell too much or perfect something. I just put my voice recorder on, I freestyle, I write the main important things. I write a lot sometimes, and then I just refine it from there, because I want to capture the essence of what I'm doing and not overcomplicate it. I'm not someone who will sit down and write a song for days or even hours. It's part of a wave that comes, and I have to ride that wave. And however that wave comes, that's great, because another wave will come and another song will come, and I'm not trying to perfect anything.
It's interesting, because as a listener like me, then I'm hearing a lot of kind of words and wordplay and kind of and a different, I've been listening to reggae kind of all my life. So to hear sort of someone's a new take on kind of roots reggae style was great to hear. I remember, it makes me think of tunes like, Key to the Universe and stuff. And it's like they've got this kind of catchy hook, but they've got something clever going on with the lyrics that you're not hearing elsewhere. And that really left an impression on me.
That album was very important, because leading up to that, there were certain songs, there were certain topics. Certain people were saying, oh, you can't sing about that. And what are you doing as a Rasta man talking about this or that? And because I have songs on that album like Kundalini, and I have Third Eye, and I have, and I'm diving into the esoteric and into certain topics that may be considered, taboo or what does it mean? I had people saying, oh, it's witchcraft, it's Obia, it's this, it's that, and even Key to the Universe, like, you're just repeating 369, like, what does that mean? It's just numbers, it's nonsense lyrics. And all of that gave me a lot of fuel, because I was like, you know what? I was never one to really be comfortable inside any categories, whether it's for myself personally or in my life. So I was like, you know what, I'm still going to do this. And I do give thanks. And King Alpha was very supportive. He's like, nah, we're doing this. Like, these are great songs, great lyrics. And he always supported me in that way. And Mike B as well, Akashic Records, because when he first heard this, he was like, man, this is wild. I want to be behind it, because no one was really singing. And I wouldn't say no one. I'd say singers like Tenastalin was someone who I really rate and respect, because he was
the great Tenastalin.
Yeah, Tenastalin was singing about things way back when, where it's like Nibiru and all kind of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that, you know, and Von Benjamin from Midnight was also very influential in that. He was the first time I heard, you know, him talking about Socrates and Anaxagoras and all these Greek philosophers in a song. And I was like, I didn't know you could do that. And I'm 18, 19. I didn't know you could sing about, you know, chant in this way. So for me, I'm doing my part of this lineage of, in my generation of artists who are true storytellers and who are telling stories and not afraid to tell stories and not concerned about how the lyrics may be received in the market, because we're not doing this for the market. We're doing this for, these are like treasures that we're giving for future generations. And that's when I sing in that song, Hear Me Chant, even when I'm gone, you will hear my song, right? Forevermore. And this music is eternal, right? And
yeah, it's deep, man.
Yeah, so I don't want to just leave something that's like, no, I want to leave something that is going to make people think and make people uplift and maybe, you know, make people feel a way too. I want it all, and I want this to be there forever. So that collaboration I have with Von Benjamin, Banton, is about that, the storyteller. And that's really my whole inspiration as a lyricist, as an artist, is to share real words with the people and not mince my words.
Yeah, I would say that it's great, no compromise stuff that definitely connects with people. But it's interesting you mention King Alpha, because I interviewed him for this podcast a while ago, and he was saying that when he hooked up with you, it's like, yeah, we can both see the mission, we're on it. So, but that sort of brings me to think, you know, to ask about how, you know, because you're established over here in Europe as well, and to make that move from California over to Europe, I mean, I wonder how that, I'd be interested to know how all that kind of happened and how that came about. Because not everybody gets to from California, you know.
Man, it's been such a whirlwind. Like, when I think it's been a decade plus now, it went by like that, like in a blink of an eye. When I first got the opportunity to go overseas, it was with Danai of Imperial Sound Army.
Yes, also a guest on this same podcast.
Yeah, and these are, you know, he was the first person to say, hey, I want to bring you out. I want to introduce you to this market. And outside of Los Angeles at the time, I had never performed anywhere other than California, right? Santa Cruz and LA. So,
and how was it experiencing all these places for the first time? Because it is a different scene over here.
You know what? It was inspiring, because I didn't know that scene existed. Over here, it was still at that time. I mean, it's very much a live band scene here in California. Sound system's growing. We'll talk about that later. But I, you know, it was very inspiring, because no one knew who I was until I got a couple of quote unquote hits. I mean, the big one was No Fear, which was still being pressed on 7-inch, and that really put me on the map, especially in Europe and Italy. I started to get around, and I put into my mind, I was like, I have a mission. I am going to keep coming back until I am known. I said, I want to be a known singer in this market, and not just known, I want to be on top. Like, that was youthful me. I was like, I'm going to be out there. And you already know Europe, even people who don't even speak English as well. You could be in France and they don't speak English well conversational. They'll sound like Supercat on the mic, right? There's some great mic people, right? And this is before I'd really gone to UK much. So,
you know, if you wanted to come back, and you must have seen something in it you liked.
Definitely. No, it was inspiring, because I said that I'm built for this. I can do this. I have the vibe for this. I have the energy for this, and I bring something unique. I'm a different type of artist. A lot of artists out there are a certain way. I have my own style, and I liked the intimacy of the crowd. Going back to sound system, like what I really loved before in Santa Cruz, before I was even playing regular shows, concerts, and that stuff, I was playing house parties. I loved house parties. Just intimate, you're singing there and someone's bumping into you, kind of push them off, and you're kind of singing. And I liked that kind of crowd. So sound system was very reminiscent of that for me. It was like a party. There's no stage, or I'm at eye level with everyone, and here we are enjoying a good vibe. So it was inspiring. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to make the effort. I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to come out as much as possible. I'm going to record as much as possible. I'm going to sharpen up my axe and lyrical acts out there, because I wasn't really performing at that time out here. So then 2016, I was invited to Dub Camp by Ras Kush.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I performed with Kush. It was great. I met everyone from the UK. I met, at that time, Christine Omega, Jonah Dan. I met Mighty Masa. I met Josh Shaka. I met Neil. I met Channel One. I met everyone who I could possibly meet. High Tech was there, Roots High Tech. And it was a good vibe. And so it just turned out on my way back to the States after Dub Camp, I went to Barcelona to perform. I had like a 5-hour layover in London at Heathrow. So I reached out to Joseph, and Joseph's like, yo, I'm close by, come. So I remember really spending the first time with Joseph, must have been a couple hours in his studio at the time. And I said, you know what? Like, send me some rhythms. I want to record. Like, I was hungry. I was like, I hadn't recorded in years. And I was like, I want a voice. And when I came back to the States, he sent me some rhythms. I voiced them all in a day or two, a day and a half, maybe a day. And that was a Simply Warrior album. I sent him back to Joseph immediately. He mixed them immediately. And here we have all this music. And I'm like, what do we do with it? It's great, but like, what do we do with it? And I share it. And then that's when I shared it with Mike B of Akashic Records. And he was like, I want to get behind this. And so that began my relationship with Mike B, King Alpha, where I started to we started to organize. So now, fast forward a couple of years, 2018 is my first real tour and tours with King Alpha, where we hit UK from Bristol, Ross Muffet, and we had, and Nego Stafari, and we were in all over Germany, and we were in France, and we were in Belgium, and it was something that was new, powerful. We had those albums, Key to the Universe, we had Axum, we had Some Dread, and it was happening. We were playing in Mexico City, performing there.
Yeah, because for a while you guys really seemed to be like everywhere. You seemed to be just like working super hard, traveling everywhere. We were
everywhere, and it was happening, and we rode this wave. And life comes in waves, and I'm thankful because Joseph and I are still close, and I really, like I said, I really highly regard who he is and what he does. It's very special, and it just happens that who I am and my lyrical style and my musical style pairs great with Joseph. And when you start to talk to Joseph more, you start to talk about Kemet and Egypt. We start to talk about African histories, and it's just he loves the same things I love, right? To discuss life, and we're students of life, so it was a very natural fit. So those collaborations with King Alpha put me on the map everywhere, and I have a feeling it's because UK is the hub of this thing, the roots and the foundation of the sound system culture. And that's why people go to the UK to go see a show, or go to the UK to even move, because once you can really get out there as an artist in the UK, you get known everywhere, right? All over the world, because within this genre. There were other artists from California going out there here and there, but I was consistently going. And this is, that consistency ended around pandemic times, right? Where things slowed down, and I was slowed down the traveling, but I was going out there 3 to 4 times a year.
Yeah, when you have the right team, when you just click with the right people, and you're on the right mission with the right people, it's a very powerful thing. I've seen it many times with people, and like you say, it can often be a wave. Like sometimes that wave goes on for years, sometimes it just lasts for a period. But when everyone's kind of tuned in together, it's a powerful thing.
Yeah, and people don't realize how far LA is from London. It's like not exactly You've done the travel.
I know what
exactly
it's
close,
like.
You know?
So that jet lag's a killer.
But check this out. So check this out. People don't. Sometimes I would fly on a Thursday night, a Friday night, arrive Saturday day in London, go play. I played Scala. Stay up all night. The next morning, go to Dougie Concha's studio, record a song that he released, African Rain, and then go straight back to Heathrow and be back in LA on Sunday. And these are the things that I was willing to do. I forced myself to do. I pushed myself through the jet lag, the no sleep, the having to still perform in a studio and still perform on stage. And I pushed my limits of fatigue to what I'm capable of. And that resilience really, as you know, it's something that's inside of me that really got me to where I'm at. It wasn't, it was a whole lot of hard work. Like anyone will say in the industry, it's not just...
it's definitely not. Because especially in the days now, we have social media, people see these sessions and, you know, I'm lucky, I travel a lot, so I'll post that I'm in this country, that country, and, you know, maybe it looks like sort of endless holiday, but I can assure you, it's no holiday. Great, wonderful thing to do, but talking about the sort of, you know, endless hard work and kind of what, you know, questioning why we do it, is that you built a sound system in Los Angeles, which is also quite hardcore and some would say crazy thing to do. So I don't know if you want to tell me a bit about the, you know, the highly charged sound system. I mean, I've had the pleasure of playing on it and I had a wonderful time.
So I was touring, I was a lot going back and forth to Europe, and then the pandemic came and I did one show with Congo Nati in Tottenham, and then I think one other show, and the travel thing was not really, that period wasn't conducive to touring, right? So I said, I'm back in LA, I'm here now, what do I do? Because one of my biggest frustrations was always coming back from tour, performing for thousands of people, hundreds of people, whatever it may be, and being kind of recognized and kind of known, you know, just having that kind of experience and coming back here and not doing anything, being pretty much inactive. I can't play in the city where I'm born and raised. So, you know, speaking with Mike B was like, it's just a natural thing. Let's build a sound. And I really do give thanks for Mike because he's willing to take risks, and especially in the sound system scene here in the States, it's still very new. But you know, so we had help with Jags from Rootsman Sound, who's born and raised in West London, but he's been out here for several decades, and we built this sound by hand. It must have taken 8 months, 9 months. As soon as you think you're done, there's more stuff, or you did something wrong and you have to go fix it. So the great thing is we had a lot of, we know a lot of people in the industries, in the scene, so we were able to get some good advice and kind of, you know, work things out. And so we launched Highly Charged Sound System about 3 years ago. It'll be coming up on 3 years next year. For me, personally, it's one of the most rewarding and satisfying projects I've been involved in, because I'm always someone who loves a challenge and loves to build something up from the ground. You know, Fikir Amak as an artist is now established, right? It's something that is it's something that's taken life of its own, and it will forever have a life of its own, right? The music. Now Highly Charged is this new thing. It's like, we don't have a crowd like that. People don't know me like that here. And there is a sound system scene, I'd say outside the entire United States, Los Angeles has probably, I would say it has the most lively sound system scene, just because of the amount of sound systems who are active in Los Angeles. We have Dub Siren, you know, we have Teokali, we have Rootsman Sound, we have Ja Thunder, there's Reverberation, there's sounds who are actively doing their thing, and the great thing is we all support each other. We go to each other's shows, you know, we really do support each other, and I think that's what it's going to take. And it's not just like one sound doing everything. We do our best. Sure, there's healthy competition amongst any sound system. Yeah,
that's all normal. That's all normal. But it felt good when I was there to see a real community of people, and very, very much, you know, obviously, you know, you're in California, so everything looks a bit different because you've got this wonderful weather and everything, but you've got all the same stuff you see at every sound system session across the world. You've got some people making some food, some people doing some arts and crafts, some people selling some music. You know, you've got everybody kind of together and like a sense of community.
Yeah, and you see, that's going to the South Bay Dub Club was a project that was started about 2 years ago, where it was really to create a place for sound systems to play. We must have hosted 7-8 sound systems by now, where even us, we're investing in other sounds to play, just to give them opportunity to kind of bring them to the space where we can provide that, like I think you termed it the village, right? Like this outdoor village where
Yeah, for real.
where we have like, roots and culture books for sale. We have artwork, paintings, we have food, we have the incense, the oils, the clothing, and so for me, going back to Highly Charged, the business model was never like to make profit and have this event that's going to be this just we were never just doing it to do events.
Yeah.
We're doing it to really, this is what I say, to bring people together, the community together. The music is just an excuse to bring people together. The music has brought so many people. People fly from different countries to come to the South Bay Dub Club. When they've come from different cities, they drive from different states because it's something very unique. And for us, the music is a tool to bring that community together, so we can all build in certain ways, and it's rallying around that Rastafari message and that Rastafari music of roots and culture, and that's really what this is about. The music is almost secondary in that way. It's like, I want people to come just to experience that vibe, and then let's build, and from that, other projects have come from just people coming together within this community. So that's really my intention in this,
But also, you do it in the right way, because you built a proper sound system, like with a preamp, and it sounds great. I mean, you must have gone on quite a learning curve building your own sound system.
Definitely, thankfully we did have Jags from Rootsman, who was helping us. He had built his sound, and he was helping us along the way. And it's always a learning. I'd say it's a forever learning process. Even here, having a studio and doing music for decades, I feel like I'm learning something new all the time. So I'm definitely thankful that we have people who are able to support us and help us along the way, because it's definitely not easy. Especially, you may know all the things to do, but it's the details, the small things that really do matter. So so it was definitely quite the process, to say the least,
Well, listen, one last question before we sort of finish up, because and I think for sure, it's the first time on this podcast that this subject has come up, is that, like, I know you're into like fitness, and it's funny because, like, I'm not particularly fit, and I would love to be more fit. And like, when I started going to sound system sessions when I was young, I was amazed by the kind of acrobatics going on, because I'd always associated reggae with more of a chill vibe, just growing up as I did, away from sound system scene. And when I discovered the sound system scene, it's like, wow, this is hardcore. So I was just wondering, like, fitness is quite a thing for you, I guess. And I don't know if you want to tell me a bit about how, what role fitness has in your life.
Yeah, I mean, that's, people who really know me know that fitness has been a part of my life for many, many years, for, I don't know, 15, 20 years now. Probably, going on 20 years. Because for me, I have that song Train, right? Which is the main thing it goes to is body, soul, and mind, right? I'm training up my body, soul, and mind. I'm a big believer that your health is your primary wealth, regardless of how much money you have. You can have all the money in the world, but if you're not taking care of your temple, your body, you can't enjoy that quality of life. And vice versa. Someone may not have as much money, but have great health. And that's going to give you a certain quality of life you can't purchase. I've been training myself for years. I became a certified personal trainer in 2010. I'm pretty much a full-time, personal trainer here in Los Angeles. I've done personal training. What I love to do is pair when I go on tour, have training sessions. So I've done physical training. I performed in, like, let's say, Leuven, Belgium, and had a training session the day before. I'm trying to bridge that more. I have the Lion Path Fitness, this brand I'm building. It's just in the beginning stages. But for me, I'm trying to show that I, as Fikir Amak, I'm not just artist. I don't lean on that artist identity. I really don't embrace it. I make music, I create music, but that's just something I do. It's just like natural, right? Like a tree grows, it has a certain fruit, it fruits. That's just what that tree does. That's something I do. But beyond the music, I also I encourage a healthy lifestyle, I encourage fitness and well-being. I also do writings. I wrote about the colonization of reggae and Rastafari, which was fairly well received. A lot of critique and criticism as well, but I have more writings on the way because I want to share with the world more of who I am. And if people resonate with it, great. If not, that's cool too. I really do care about my own self and my own body, and I want people to care about themselves as well.
Well, it's a lovely message, you know what I mean? It's great to hear that kind of positivity coming from you. Fikir Amak, it's been wonderful talking to you, and I look forward to many more productions and meetings and whatever. So, just want to say a big thanks for taking part in the Life in Dub podcast.
I give thanks same way, Steve. It's been an honor, like always, to just hold some space with you. And I'm sure we'll be talking here soon again, Respect.
Thanks for joining me and Fikir Amak for this 37th episode of the Life in Dub podcast. Don't forget to tell people about the podcast, share it around, and help get these amazing life stories out to more and more people. And remember, if you want to get in touch with me, the best way is just to email me, vibronics@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you all again in 2 weeks for the next Life in Dub podcast.